One of my favorite parts of life is when someone shares something with me that they found inspirational. And it doesn't matter what the inspiration is. Maybe it pushes you closer to your faith or moves you to love more or offers some other kind of insight. It's the sharing and that connection that really makes the inspiration powerful. It's almost like it's contagious, kind of like the foot tapping in here this morning. And how great would it be in the world if we could all share the things that excite us with other people without any fear of judgment? And it reminds me of something I saw. I spend way too much time on my phone scrolling through things. It was a compilation of the best of Twitter comments. And someone had written that they were tired of asking people at parties what they do for a living, for small talk. And he said from now on he was going to ask people what their favorite dinosaur was. Do you remember being a kid and having a favorite dinosaur and a passionate reason for why Stegosaurus was your favorite? Or maybe it was a favorite Power Ranger. I remember my son was little. He turned 35 last week. Green was his favorite Power Ranger, and I don't remember why Green was so great. I'm sure he had lots of good reasons, but he'd defend Green over any of those other Power Rangers like he was Clarence Darrow in court. Green was the man. That was all there was to it. And it's that in-the-moment experience that children are so good at. Of course, they don't have lots of other things crowding their brain like adults do. They don't think about what to take out of the freezer for dinner tomorrow or when they need to start working on their taxes, like me, which is yesterday. Or that the dog needs to go to the vet next week. But it's that in-the-moment state of mind that we are constantly reminded to strive for, right? Carpe diem, tempus fugit, gather rosebuds while you may, and YOLO, also known as you only live once. And as evidenced by all these well-known phrases and some things in Latin and the occasional poem from the 1600s, we've been reminding ourselves for a very long time that life is both short and uncertain. We continue to do so today because apparently we just can't stay in a YOLO state of mind very long. So why do we put off fishing with our dad? Why don't we ask the girl to marry us? Why don't we make the time to fix that Pontiac with our granddad? Part of the choices we make that keep us from being fully present are the result of what I call caveman brain. Cave person. My cave person ancestor likely would have cherished routine and lived for the very familiar, because that which didn't kill her the first time was highly unlikely to kill her the second time. And in relation to that, there's a video going around. You may have seen it. It features Illinois Governor, I'm going to murder his last name, J.B. Pritzker, and he's delivering the commencement speech at Northwestern University. He's got the little hat and the big robes and the little thing on his neck. And the whole thing, it's an amazing speech. I encourage you, after the service, look it up, listen to the whole thing. It's only about 4 minutes long. I'm only going to quote a small part. And he's talking about his advice to the graduates is how to spot an idiot. And he says, in essence, to look for the person who is cruel. And these are his words. When we see someone who doesn't look like us, or sound like us, or act like us, or love like us, or live like us, the first thought that crosses almost everyone's brain is rooted in either fear or judgment, or both. That's evolution. We survived as a species by being suspicious of things we aren't familiar with. In order to be kind, we have to shut down that animal instinct and force our brains to travel a different pathway. Empathy and compassion are evolved states of being. They require the mental capacity to step past our most primal urges. And that's where that quote ends. So maybe the reason our first thought is to put off fishing or proposing or fixing things, doing things with people that we love, is somewhere deep in our brain. It requires us to overcome that cave person instinct, those primal urges that require you to step past them and summon empathy and compassion. And it's empathy and compassion for ourselves to recognize that we need those kinds of connections, but also empathy and compassion for the people that we would invite. We have to work to overcome the fear, no matter how small it may be, that we are not as important to them as they are to us. We fear rejection. Kenny Chesney said it in the song, "Scared to live, scared to die." Now let's add in, we're modern humans now. We're also calculating constantly opportunity costs of any of our decisions. And I don't think anybody teaches us this. You don't go to school and in second grade you learn your times tables and your calculation of opportunity costs. It's just part of growing up in the modern world. The conspicuous consumerism that is beat into us from the time that we're very little plays in the back of your mind. So, I can't go fishing today. I need to put some overtime in to finish that report so I can get promoted. I'm not rich enough yet. I don't have the money yet to really get married, so I'm just going to wait. She'll be okay. If I spend Sunday afternoon working on the car with Granddad, I won't get the shopping and the laundry and the taxes done. And we know the value of getting things done without actively thinking about it. It just works in the back of our brain. We value, even subconsciously, getting ahead, making and spending money, all the busy work, and all the things that we do and we use to identify our place in the social schema will always be there. It takes active thinking to recognize that our opportunities to spend time with our loved ones is really the limited resource. Humans have expiration dates, and unfortunately they aren't stamped on our bottoms like cans of tuna fish. I was on active duty with my National Guard unit at Fort Stewart, Georgia, up near Savannah, on September 11th, 2001. We were building great big wooden shipping crates. They were huge. They were as big as that table, that would hold accessory parts for tanks that the Army was shipping overseas. And I enjoyed the work, the smell of the freshly cut lumber, the physical effort of assembling and nailing these crates together, and then dragging them to the parking lot where we had to stack them on pallets where they would be picked up later. It was very physically demanding work. It was very unlike the desk work that I normally did Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And I will never forget when Specialist Miles, who had a knack for hanging out in the break room when there was work to do, he came out to the carpentry shop and he said, "You guys got to come see this." And 4 sweaty, sawdust-covered, part-time soldiers watched the footage of the Twin Towers from New York City on a tiny TV perched on top of a refrigerator in a little grimy break room at a National Guard training center. And nothing was ever the same. Meghan Trainor's song that we heard, "Like I'm Gonna Lose You," is a duet with John Legend. In the second verse, that's John singing, "In the blink of an eye, just a whisper of smoke, you could lose everything. The truth is you never know. So I'll kiss you longer, baby, any chance that I get. I'll make the most of the minutes in love with no regret. Let's take our time to say what we want, use what we got before it's all gone, because no, we're not promised tomorrow." And every time I hear those first 2 lines, "In the blink of an eye, just a whisper of smoke, you could lose everything. The truth is you never know." I think of 9/11. I think of the people who got on the subway to go to work, who dropped their kids off at school that morning, who did everything the way they always did it that morning. And my cave person brain cringes at the reality that the comfort of routine, that engagement with the familiar does not protect us. The people who didn't go to the towers that day, that morning, who varied from their routine for whatever reason, are left to struggle with their what-ifs. And my modern brain says, yeah, but that was a terrorist attack. That happens on American soil how often? Like once in a lifetime? I'm not going to lose somebody suddenly like that. That's not going to happen to me. Until it did. On August 17th, 2 years ago, I called my mom to wish her happy birthday. I talked to my dad first, and the last thing I said to him before he gave the phone to my mom was, "Love you, Dad," like I always did. 2 days later, he slipped on his boat dock, hit his head, and he drowned. So take that phone call from your mama and just talk away, because you'll never know how bad you wanna till you can't someday. Don't wait on tomorrow, because tomorrow may not show. Say your sorries, your I love yous, because man, you never know. Cody Johnson sang it, but Benjamin Stennis and Matthew Rogers wrote it, so let's give credit where credit's due. And what they wrote's true. Their anthem to Don't Wait is poignant and laden with emotional vignettes that most of us have experienced one, some, all of them. But on top of the focus of the ephemeral and fickle nature of time, there's a second theme in play in everything we've seen this morning. And to me, that's the most important part. That's the meat at the heart of the matter. Here's part of the chorus from the Get Along song by Kenny Chesney. Get along while we can. Always give love the upper hand. Paint a wall, learn to dance, call your mom, buy a boat, drink a beer, sing a song, make a friend. Can't we all get along? And here's part of the chorus of Till You Can't. If you're going to love someone, hold them as long and as strong and as close as you can until you can't. And the first two lines of Megan's chorus. So I'm going to love you like I'm going to lose you. I'm going to hold you like I'm saying goodbye. Can you hear what they're actually singing about? It's love. It's love. And for us, love is ingrained in our faith. We stand on the side of love. We practice gracious accountability with care, love, and empathy. To me, love is the bedrock that holds up everything else that we as UUs do. And I'm going to make the argument here this morning that we actually have love as one of our sources. And no, it's not Jewish and Christian teachings which call us to respond to God's love by loving our neighbors as ourselves. Too easy. You're not going to get off that easy this morning. The source I'm referring to doesn't even have the word love in it. It's this one. Direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder, affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to a renewal of the spirit and an openness to the forces which create and uphold life. Sounds like love to me. You have direct experience. Love is a verb. You have to participate. Reading poems and watching movies are not direct experiences unless you're doing them with the one that you love. So you have to go fix that car with granddad. You have to propose to your girlfriend. You have to go make a friend. It's affirmed in all cultures. Now, I'm not a world traveler. The couple of key places I've been is because the Army sent me there, which probably doesn't have anything to do at all with love. But everywhere I have been, people want the same things for themselves and their loved ones. They want safety, they want good health, and they want a prosperous future. These things may look different to us depending on who we're looking at and who we are, but the motivation, the love, is all the same. It moves us to a renewal of spirit. Do you recognize how you feel after you spend time with your loved ones versus how you feel when you get home from work? The giving and nourishing of love is like a spiritual feast. It's nourishment for your heart. And now for the last part of that source. Openness to the forces which create and uphold life. And the kicker in there is openness. Because that's a choice. You have to decide you are going to be open to love. Instead of looking away, staying in your comfortable rut of routine, of busyness, you have to extend yourself into a life of love. You have to decide to pick up that phone and take that call and to overcome that deep subliminal reflex to just stay safe. I will admit, I have always felt a strong connection to our principle of interconnectedness. That was my favorite from the get-go. It's one of my favorite things to write sermons about. And it's not hard because I see it everywhere. It's interconnected. It's everywhere. Even the inspiration for this sermon, I'm not a country music fan. But the words of Till You Can't spoke to me. And if I didn't know Gay and Kevin, maybe I wouldn't have received this inspiration. Ooh, look, we're all interconnected. But despite this, the more I read and the more I write and the more I experience, that's the nice way to say I'm getting older, the more I feel like we can sum up our faith with one word: love. So for people not into pop songs or 17th century poetry, some very wise folks put it in our sources. I strongly encourage you, though, to continue to take advice from relevant current entertainment, though, because if you're like me, you need all the help that you can get. At the end of the day, work and chores and chasing the dollar might be how we make a living, but it's not how we are meant to be alive. Your value is not granted by external forces. based on the amount of your physical labor or revenue production. Your value is your inherent worth. Even if any given moment you are not able to give love, you are always worthy of receiving love. Every poet, every songwriter, every philosopher knows this. If not consciously, they feel it deep in their hearts. And those are the words that we read and we hear that move us. We don't need to be reminded of the fleeting nature of time. We need to be reminded of the power of transcendent love. We need to be reminded to engage one another with love, in love, and for love. We need to commit to fostering, cherishing, and reveling in the love we already have in our lives. If we can do that, we will not regret when the time passes. For time will pass, but love endures. If you have a chance, take it. If you have a dream, chase it, because that dream won't chase you. Thank you.